We've all been here at some point in our lives. Picture this, you've got the animal of your dreams emerging from a bush in the distance. You start to panic and your heart starts to beat out of control as you start to frantically try and get your act together and range and dial in your scope. And this animal looks at you, notices you in your panic state and thinks, cheers guys, I'm out of here. And you're left there thinking about what kind of excuse you're going to make around the campfire that evening. It doesn't have to be that way. And in this video, we're going to run through 3 key points to help you become a more proficient hunter. And that covers everything from big game trophy hunting to small game airgun hunting and pest control, which has obviously been what this channel has focused on mostly. And with every point I make, we'll run through some examples of times that I've been out hunting and I've had an opportunity at an animal and I've done something a certain way based on what I've learned, and we'll kind of dissect that. Let's get straight to it.
Oh yes.
So when you want to become an expert at anything, the most obvious way to do so is to just do that thing more. Repetition is how you become better at something, but not everyone gets that opportunity to go out and just shoot stuff all the time. In fact, if hunting is something that is a rare occasion for you, that's even more of a reason to try and prepare yourself for it. So when you get that opportunity, you can make it count. One of the best things about airgun hunting, and one of the reasons I'm such a big advocate for air guns, is that you get so much trigger time. You can really go out and get that repetition in. Ammo is cheap, and in many cases, targets are very plentiful. I've got so many videos on my channel where I basically just mow down pigeon after pigeon as fast as I can reload. And this kind of shooting has helped me to build that muscle memory that's needed to engage targets quickly and efficiently, so that when I get an opportunity at something a bit more elusive, let's say a nice trophy mountain reedbuck for example, I can move quickly and effectively without having to think about what I'm actually doing. But what if you don't have access to a dairy and an endlessly respawning pigeon population that you can just drop a bunch of lead on? Well, there are some points that you can run through even at home to help you prepare for when that opportunity comes. And the first one is that you have to understand the animals that you're trying to shoot, where they live, what their patterns are like, and how they think. You need to become that animal for a moment, just to be able to put yourself in a position to actually get near to it and be able to take a shot. This is their world, it's not your world, and you have to put yourself in their shoes. Wait, animals don't wear shoes? And this can apply to any species. For example, when looking for a bushbuck, you're going to want to look in the thickets, and you might need to be ready if one emerges at any time unexpectedly. Whereas a baboon is going to likely be sitting on a cliff 800 meters away, and you're going to need to be looking for them with your binos so that you can actually plan to either get closer or be ready to set up for that long shot when the time comes. On the airgun side, it's no different. It's not just shooting pigeons that are literally landing in front of you and you can just smoke them. Some animals require a bit more effort. So ground squirrels, for example, I've learned that in a massive area, there may only be a few colonies of ground squirrels spread out. And I've learned to identify where the type of terrain is that they like, identify where there's signs that they've been grazing on certain vegetation or signs that they've been digging holes. Then you can actually wait and look for them. Monkeys, you need to know what time of the day and what weather conditions they like to pop up in the bushes, because if you can catch them when they're poking up, it's going to be 1,000 times easier than if you're just wandering through the bushes aimlessly hoping that they'll rock up. And then there's animals like dussies that you need to be able to identify certain cliff sides and rock formations that are sort of conducive to dussie residence, and then you need to know how far or close you can get to them without spooking them off. You need to be able to be patient. You need to know how to set up and how to prepare for a shot so that when they do emerge, you don't waste time in putting them down. These are all things that you can actually study beforehand. And if you don't know a lot about these animals, well, watch my videos. I've done endless videos on small game hunting and bigger game hunting where I actually run through my thought process and I explain exactly what I'm doing for each of these different species, and you can learn a lot from watching other people. Finding your target and giving yourself an opportunity is the first step. You can be the best shooter in the world, but if you can't give yourself an opportunity to actually line up on an animal, then you can't call yourself a good hunter.
Here are two great examples of times that I needed help from locals to get up to speed on species that I wasn't used to hunting. The first is when I went to Patagonia to hunt beavers. It was hugely beneficial to have Claudio as a local guide, teaching me about beaver behavior and showing me how to locate beaver dams and find opportunities for shots. The same goes for when I went to New Zealand last year to hunt wallabies. Jake was able to take me up into the hills, showed me where to look, advised me on what time they would be active, and the results speak for themselves.
Oh, yes.
Step number 2, become intimately familiar with your rifle system and how it works. Make it an extension of your body. The animals that you are trying to hunt are so well adapted to evade predators. That is how they've survived. Humans don't stand a chance without tools, and your rifle is the equalizer. You have to learn how to use it properly, or else you just won't stand a chance. Lately, I've been shooting precision rifle matches to keep myself sharp, but honestly, plinking at soda cans will work just as well. The main thing is that you need to be able to identify a target, get on target, get steady, and then squeeze the trigger in a controlled manner.
I can think of a number of examples where experience with my rifles allowed me to calmly take difficult shots under pressure. The first is from a fairly recent wildebeest hunt, shooting off rickety sticks and having to go for a headshot due to the angle. The second is one of many monkey shots from the Oxwagon Diary series, a standing shot from around 100 meters where I timed my trigger pull perfectly and was able to place the shot right on the head.
And the third and final point is that it's critically important that you understand the external factors that can affect your bullet or pellet in flight and find a way to compensate for these factors out in the field. This isn't Call of Duty where you can just point and shoot. We aren't using lasers that can travel in a perfectly straight line. Bullets and pellets are affected by external forces like gravity and wind, and you have to understand how to factor in these forces, calculate a firing solution, and make a correction. Air guns are a fantastic way to learn this concept because the effects of the forces like gravity and the wind are so much more exaggerated even at closer distance with those slow, tiny little pellets and bullets that you're shooting out of an air gun. When I started off, the first thing I used to do before I got all the fancy equipment was to just place targets at different distances which are paced out, shoot them, figure out what sort of hold I need to have on my reticle to compensate for the drop, and then just make a simple range card with the distance and what I need to compensate. And that's a good way to start. Then I took the important step when rangefinders were finally becoming more affordable to get a proper laser rangefinder so that I wasn't just taking a wild guess at distances. If you know the exact distance that you're shooting, it's much easier to compensate for it. Then the next natural step, I got a ballistic calculator app on my phone so that I could actually factor in with the weather conditions on that day or with the incline angle that I'm shooting, or I can enter a wind condition and I can get proper firing solutions as opposed to a range card that was a little bit more generic. Then I took another step and I got a first focal plane rifle scope with the turrets and the reticle in the same unit so that I wasn't having to do unit conversions all the time and wasn't having to do maths when I changed my zoom. It just made that whole process much easier. Then another step, I got a Kestrel, which allows me to measure the wind instead of guessing it. And technology keeps progressing. If you want to take it even a step further, you can get a ballistics rangefinder like this Element Helix 1500, which gives you an instant firing solution right in the display, so you don't have to reference your ballistic calculator or a range card. And it gets even better. You know, I get weapon mounted rangefinders like the Element rangefinding module, and there's others on the market also, that allow you to just at the push of a button get a range and a firing solution without even your eye leaving the scope. It's just one less step, cuts that time shorter. And if you want to really cheat, you can get something like the Element Hyper 7, which has the ability to take a range reading from an external ballistic rangefinder and move your reticle for you. So now you're basically doing no work. You're pointing at something, you're pushing a button, your reticle's telling you where to aim, and you're pulling a trigger. Yes, you may think that's cheating, but at the end of the day, you want to take every advantage you can get. The good news though is that you do not need all these gadgets to hunt successfully. Yes, they're going to probably increase your success rate, but honestly, you'll be perfectly fine just by using a decent laser rangefinder and a range card, as long as your data is good. The one thing I would say that is non-negotiable is a laser rangefinder, because guessing precise distances is just outside of 99.9% of people's skill sets.
I'm going to use another hunt from New Zealand as an example for this point, just to show that it doesn't have to be complicated or difficult to compensate for distance. We were hunting Arapawa sheep, and I had borrowed a rifle without time to set anything up. I used the velocity listed on the box of factory ammo. I used a BDC reticle on the Helix HD rifle scope, which was set up for this caliber, and it was as easy as ranging each ram and holding on the corresponding hold mark. Very straightforward.
And that's basically it. It's 3 simple steps. We don't need to overcomplicate this. And the main thing is that you're actually having fun. Hunting is not just about ticking the boxes of what species or the number of animals you've got down. It's actually about being outdoors and connecting with nature and enjoying it. If you want to see more hunting content like the few examples I've shown you here, there's so much on this channel. So please consider subscribing and go click on my channel, go check them all out. I've got playlists, I've got hundreds and hundreds of full-length, half-an-hour plus hunting episodes with crossbows, bows, centerfire rifles, air guns, you name it, it's all there. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.